Hi, Asima. Good to meet you. So
Nice
before
to
we
meet you as
begin,
well.
I would love to ask for you to tell us a little bit about yourself so that our audience can get to know you a bit better.
But thank you for inviting me. My name is Asima Khokhar. I work at Google. I'm currently head of the programs and product portfolio for our payments org, which includes GPay and Wallet. Prior to that, I was part of Google Cloud. I was on the GCP Google Cloud platform. And before that, I was working on Google's financial management systems. That includes our internal ERP system as well as some other proprietary system that we have implemented in the background at Google. So I've been at Google 7 years. Prior to coming to Google, I was with Deloitte Consulting for 7 years as well. I was part of technology consulting based out of Canada, but did a lot of international projects, had the opportunity of working in multiple countries. And before that, I was doing my MBA. So I was recruited into Deloitte as part of campus recruiting. I moved to Silicon Valley 7 years ago when I was hired by Google. So they brought me to US and to Silicon Valley. So that's a bit about me.
Awesome. So one thing that's really interesting to me is, and it's a question that I love to ask everybody, is what their experience was in the field that they have, based on the gender. Unfortunately, in US, considering that most people are from minorities now, their experiences are very vast and very different. But since you came to US from Canada, I want to probe over there a little bit. How was that experience like for you?
Um, because I was in management consulting, I had already experienced the international market. But when you come from one country to another, there's definitely cultural differences. So for me, coming from, for example, in Canada, people generally tend to be indirect. It's part of the Canadian politeness. They are not direct and abrupt in conversations. Whereas if I am working with Europe in European countries, you get on a call, and as Canadians would want to ask them, how was their weekend? How was their day? Whereas they think we are wasting time, and they're like, yeah, it's all good. Let's get to work. And they want to get started on the agenda. So US, in comparison to that, there is sometimes we feel like Canadian culture is a little bit of hybrid of European culture and US culture. So in US, when I initially came into US, I had to learn it's a very cutthroat corporate world in US, especially if you're in Silicon Valley or if you're on Wall Street, you experience that intensity of that American corporate world, which is best of the world's talent. Top talent is there competing for the top prize. So it's very cutthroat, it's very competitive, but at the same time, as much as there's competition in Silicon Valley, there is technology cannot be built without collaboration. So as cutthroat as Silicon Valley, US corporate world was, it was also extremely collaborative. So that is something I experienced culturally when I worked in different countries, particularly coming from Canada to US. I felt people were just very direct, very abrupt. Now I feel I have become one of. I'm just straight. Whenever I observe something, I just say it. Whereas in a different culture, there'll be an indirect way of saying it. So that's one thing I experienced. Regarding gender, I think it's always a bit of a question when women are pursuing careers. Not that the corporate world is stopping us. If anything, corporate world has really started to value female experience and female leadership. For us women, there are choices to be made. There are some realities, physical realities of life that we have been blessed with from nature. We have to take those into consideration. Then on top of it, we do have our own Pakistani culture expectations that stay with us, which we have to balance. When we call ourselves multicultural, we ourselves have become multicultural. We have our ethnic culture that comes with us, our parents have given us. We have the religious direction, particularly in our culture, women, it's more imposed on women than it's on men. Then you have the culture of the country you live in, then you have the culture of the region or the industry you are in. So all of those things come together, make very unique, nuanced situations, and it takes people a few years to get settled in. And even then, I feel like anytime I change a position, anytime I jump into a new project with some new folks, with some new regions, it's always a new learning experience.
This is something so beautiful. I really like that when you're talking about it's a melting pot of not only cultures, but professional experiences as well. And considering the professionally cultural differences, I think that's a very, very unique point. What I want to know is for early career professionals that who are entering the international market, what advice would you give to them to be able to smooth their journey into it and understand this changing environment?
So, first, early career, first of all, no matter who that person is, there's challenges and opportunities. So right now, if I reflect back on my career when I graduated in 2011, almost 15 years ago, when I came into the technology world, at that time, SaaS and cloud was hot. And those of us who were graduating, we just got sucked into it. No matter what education we had, companies were able to train us, mold us, get us going, and we just got sucked into that wave of cloud, and we were successful with that. So there's that opportunity for new graduates and early career, those who are coming up now. The world of AI will kind of make sure they don't have to put effort into upgrade themselves. They're coming in with their education, they're stepping into the new opportunities, and anytime new opportunities come up, there's always a desire to have young people in it who are newly trained in it, who are eager to learn it, they're willing to work hard. So there's that opportunity for early career young professionals that whatever the new wave is, they can just ride the wave and that can propel their career forward. It happens every 15 years. So those of us who joined the workforce 15, 20 years ago, now we're at a place we're having to upgrade ourselves, whereas the early career people right now, they can join the wave. Now, on the flip side, for early career, it's become extremely competitive. Even if I compare it from few years ago when I joined Google or even when I joined Deloitte, I do feel the competition is far more intense today than it was before. So I think for the early career people, again, no matter where they're from, which university, which region, my encouragement to early career people is don't just focus on your technical skills. They oftentimes underestimate soft skills. When we are evaluating people, we don't just look at their technical skills. Generally, there's enough reflection on applications that we're like, okay, there are enough technical skills here. When people come into interviews, more often than not, they can fail the interview because of soft skills. They didn't have the confidence or the knowledge to answer the question. They had not done their homework. They had not prepped for the interview, or they do not have communication skills, if their problem solving skills are weak. So there is a little bit of that for early career people. The focus on soft skills maybe in universities is low, or the young generation is not as focused on it. So that's a challenge for early career people, is to get into the competitive job market. It's not just about their technical skills, a lot about their soft skills that oftentimes they do not focus on, and that becomes the initial learning phase of their career. And a lot of effort has to go into it. So a lot of coaching and mentorship from experienced folks is critical if the younger folks are open to it and they pursue it. Now, in terms of changing regions, when you come into a job market, they have their local graduates, right? So there is that competition you face with from the local graduates. Um, then on top of that, there is going to be the competition of the industry. The industry has now, we think, for example, I speak to students who are graduating from Pakistan. and they're trying to upgrade themselves or achieve a certain target based on where they are today and where they would like to be. And I remind them that when if your skill set is at 50% and you're trying to push it to 70%, remember the applications are going to be coming from universities who are considered the gold standard. So you are really competing with the global talent. So that's a bit of a nuance for somebody who may be coming from a region or from a university that may not be top tier. But the truth is, everything can be overcome. This globalization, education, training is very fastly available. So I would say the critical thing for people when they come into a new region is making sure their communication skills are good. That tends to be the biggest gap. And my advice to people is if you're going to be going into a new region and you're going to be dealing with the new language, start speaking it now. Get comfortable with it. Do it at home. Do it with the friends. It's a safe environment. If you make mistake, that's okay. You'll get better at it. But if you don't practice some of those things and now you come into the new region where now you're required to communicate in a certain language, now you're having to do it on the spot, and maybe some of the skill training is now kicking in, and you can miss out on opportunities because communication is what's critical in the world of corporate. So that's one. The other thing is network. Network is critical uh, for folks who maybe going to school within US or even in California, Berkeley or Stanford. They like high likelihood have some developing their local network because they are in Silicon Valley. Their professors are likely bringing in um, industry speakers. Universities are well connected into Silicon Valley organizations who also come in and recruit. So network is another thing that's somebody coming from, and myself, when I came from Canada, while I had a fantastic network in Canada, nobody knew me. When I came to Silicon Valley, and open was an amazing opportunity for me. For those of us who come into a new region, join organizations. There are lots of organizations. I joined Open. It opened a network with I got to meet a lot of people, a lot of successful people, made a lot of friends. So you need your network. These organizations also help you get plugged into the cultural norms. You start to learn from them. You start to practice a lot of things from them. You can get advice from them. So anyone who's coming from an international market, I would say join a local organization, whether it's an organization that's focused on community service or it's an organization focused on just knowledge development, networking, whatever that may be. There's some organizations like Toastmasters focused on communication skills, but join the organization because it's not just about learning. You develop network, you develop communication skills, you start to understand the local norms, you start to understand the skill set needed, you start to understand the competition that's out there that you're competing with. And those are some of the hard work or my encouragement of getting some extra help by putting some effort into it.
Awesome. I feel like you could have kept on talking and I would have just kept on listening.
It is one of those subjects that one can keep on talking, and but no, there is a reason so many industry experts are part of many organizations, nonprofit organizations, or they serve as board of directors, or they're always keen on being speakers at conferences or public speakers. Why is that? Because there is value to doing it, not just for people in early career. At any stage of your career, there's value to being part of that overall knowledge sharing. And also, when you have some new experience, there are going to be learnings you don't have as a young graduate. Young graduates have learnings that, so when you hang out in those organizations, coach those young students, I personally find there's tons of reverse mentorship. I sometimes walk away with, these people taught me more than I taught them. So it's very critical for all of us to do it.
That's a beautiful sentiment. Um, you're mentioning certain kind of globalization, and there's an overflow of information with so much apps using OpenAI. What I want to understand is how does one filter out correct information with this noise that's surrounding us?
That's a really good question. I was doing a webinar a few weeks ago, and I was asked the same question. When you're looking ahead, how do you figure out what's the right information? So from my vantage point, what I do, I am in tech. I very religiously keep an eye on tech trends by some of the very respected organizations that publish tech trends each year. And that may be Gartner. Gartner publishes tech trends in the beginning of each year. They refresh them through the year. Um, there is Forbes, there's McKinsey and Company, there's Deloitte, World Economic Forum. So these are 5 or 6 organizations, at least from my vantage point. What I do, they publish tech trends with a lot of data. So that's what I do to make sure that I'm keeping up with the knowledge. I'm exploring the ecosystem correctly. I am also connected with industry professionals, whether they be at Google. I talk to people who are doing their own research and they have their own point of view, whether I talk to people within the open community, whether I talk to people, just some special interest groups. Um, as much as we have gotten used to it, AI kind of driven research platforms where they are more communication based, I encourage people as a professional, if you want to have knowledge, don't just depend on a conversation based research. Research the sources of information that are valid sources and go read them. As easy as it may be to ask Gemini or ask ChatGPT a question and them to cuff a question back, answer back at you, it cannot be compared with the industry analysis, the analytics, and the industry experts, the studies they're putting out there, and you sitting down and reading those studies and getting knowledge from professionals. You cannot, just the summary that AI gives you, it cannot replace the expert knowledge that's out there. And also, sometimes you don't know what the AI is giving you is hallucinating or is giving you valid information, or is it just trying to tell you what you want to hear? So it's important that we do go to the source of the correct information, um, and educate ourselves as opposed to depending on someone to tell us that may or may not be valid information.
So, Asma, looking back at your professional career, is there any failure that has taught you an important lesson in your life?
2 failures, and I am extremely glad I had them. One was in my very early career, I was looking to, I was thinking about going into marketing and advertising when I was doing my undergrad, and I wanted an internship with a local magazine or newspaper. And I got it. But very quickly, I also lost it because I didn't know that about advertising in the marketing world. While on the surface, it may look like a very creative job, it's actually a sales job. You have to sell the advertising of your organization. You have to buy the ad space, and on top of it, the purpose of advertising is to generate sales. It's a very salesy kind of world. So as much as I did not succeed in it, I learned what is it that I'm not good at. In order for, sometimes we focus a lot on what is it I'm good at. And I tell people, chances are there are lots of things you're good at, and chances are there are a handful of things you are really not good at. Try to find out those things you're not good at, process of elimination. I have since never turned towards careers that would require a sales kind of a skill set for me because I know I do not have it. So that failure taught me I'm not good at something, and I encourage people, look for things you're not good at. You just don't have the skill and talent for it. Process of elimination, you'll get to the things that you're really good at. So that was one failure. I lost that internship in 3 weeks because I was so bad at sales and advertising. Then when I was finishing MBA, I really wanted to get into management consulting. And I was rejected by many firms that I've applied to IBM, I've applied to Deloitte, I've applied to McKinsey, I've applied to KPMG. The one that I really, really wanted to get was KPMG for a variety of reasons. I do not I don't think we have time to go into that. And I didn't get it. It was a serious blow to my ego. I still, like, I had gone through a lot of rejections, but my dad tells me when I got the KPMG rejection, I came home and I went to my room and I sat down on my bed. And that was the one and the only time in my career when I came home and my dad came after me into my bedroom and he sat down next to me on my bed and he said, "What happened? Something has happened. I've never seen you like this." Because it was so visible on my dad that she had a disappointment today that I've never seen on her before. And I had been rejected a lot on many other organizations. But I just was so caught up on what KPMG was doing. Now, fast forward, I now know that KPMG is not the leader in technology consulting. Deloitte is, Accenture is, IBM is. So, a few months after, Deloitte came. So actually, before that, I got into an internship that got me into the world of Salesforce. Then, based on that, IBM and Deloitte came. Had I gotten that internship in KPMG, I likely would not have built the very successful technology consulting career that I built with Deloitte that eventually resulted in Google coming to me with an offer. So that's a huge failure of my life, but sometimes we have to trust Mother Nature that when we are being defeated, we're trying hard, we're talented, chances are something else wonderful is waiting for us. We just need to keep trying and get to the destination that's out there. That's a huge failure of my life, but I am so grateful for both of them. If those two had not happened, I would either be in the world of some advertising that I probably would not be enjoying, or I would likely have turned into some other kind of consulting, but definitely not technology consulting. So, as much as I wanted those two things, those failures were some of the blessings in my life.
That sounds amazing. So before we wrap up, there's just one last question that I want to ask you. For somebody who comes to meet you at the unscripted session, what would be that one lesson that you want them to take away?
Don't give up. Never give up. Those who know my background, I have had some very humble beginnings. I have had some very major setbacks in my early life, in my early career. Always work hard. I have 3 rules of success. Work hard, have faith in your Lord, may the force be with you. That would be my advice to anyone who comes to talk to me.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Asma. Lovely to have you here and looking forward to meeting you in our unscripted session that will be on our annual forum 2025 at Clara Convention on 8th of November.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for inviting. Wonderful to talk to you. Looking forward to seeing you there.
See you then.
Thank you. Bye.